Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. Glad you're with us to close out the week here on Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Friday in which we see the Jacksonville Jaguar coaching staff that is filled out. Kudos to Liam Cohen. He's only been on the job for 2 weeks, and the coaching staff is pretty much concrete right now. They've got everything pretty much full for the 2025 season. Of course, now waiting on a general manager. More on that next week. Of course, we have a Super Bowl to talk about on Sunday. We got a huge Florida Gator basketball game tomorrow as the number 6 ranked Gators head to Auburn to take on the number 1 team in the land, the Auburn Tigers. So we got a lot to get into. We're with you till 10 o'clock. I'm fresh off a parent chaperone situation where I got to hang out with a bunch of 5-year-olds out at the Diamond D Ranch today on a field trip. Now, Denmark, I wasn't very familiar with that place. You were kind of filling me in on it. That was a lot of fun. It was interesting, some of the things they have out there. But I will say I've never really been a chaperone before for Little Hack and his classmates. That's quite the deal. That is quite the deal. You think finding or following around one 5-year-old is a lot of work. Try following around 17 5-year-olds. Now, there were some other parents there to assist, but happy my wife signed me up for that. That was a good time today out there. The kids had fun. That's all that's important. But I think after tonight's broadcast, I might go home and have myself a little bit of an ice bath this evening. So that was quite the cardio, quite the workout. I'm 100-plus pounds lighter. I can't imagine what I would have been a year ago this time having to do that. But good times had by all. Little Hack's already asleep from what I've been told at the home front. He played hard today. He went hard today out at the Diamond D Ranch, but had a great time, and I'm happy to be with you over the next 2 hours to discuss the world of sports, including a Jaguar coaching staff, a Super Bowl, among many other items. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Boy, that didn't take long, right? We were wondering, how long it was going to take. Liam Cohen's only been on the job for, 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago today, as a matter of fact. And we have a coaching staff. We have, 3, 6, 9, 11, 4. We have 19 coaches already assembled. That's good work. For Liam Cohen to hire, 18 people in 14 days? That's on top of it, man. That's knowing you're up against a little bit of a time crunch here. That's a good job. Of course, the greatest hits we know about Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator from Green Bay. We obviously found out about Grant Udinski, the 29-year-old whiz kid from Minnesota. Couple other interesting items as well. We haven't talked a lot about Matt Edwards from Buffalo. I like him as the new defensive line coach. Heard some really good things as well about Anthony Perkins, who came with Campanile from Green Bay. Perkins is going to be the brand new secondary coach, defensive backs coach. So again, don't know a ton about these guys. Just have heard good things from some of my colleagues in some of these markets. On offense, the name that's going to jump right out to you is Edgar Bennett, right? Of course. Former Florida State Seminole, Green Bay Packer, Jacksonville's own. Obviously, that's going to resonate with a lot of people here. Shane Waldron. What's interesting about Shane Waldron is people will tell you that he failed in Chicago. Yeah, he was not good as an offensive coordinator in Chicago. He's not going to be asked to be an offensive coordinator here. He's going to be the passing game coordinator. So we'll see if Shane Waldron has better success. John Van Dam, I really enjoyed his work in Cyborg and all those terrific movies in the 1980s. He is now the brand new, what's the title for John Van Damme? The Offensive Passing Game Specialist, okay? I'm not sure if that existed 3 or 4 years ago, but we have an offensive passing game specialist. We have an offensive coordinator. We have a passing game coordinator. We have a head coach. It's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. But welcome John Van Damme to Jacksonville. Again, if I get to see him down there, Cyborg is probably my favorite movie of his from the 1980s. Also, Richard Angulo is back as the tight ends coach. So look, again, some of these guys are just names. Some of them will resonate like Edgar Bennett. But the bottom line is Liam Cohen, in just 2 weeks' time, filled out a staff. And that's good to see, right? That's positive to see moving forward. Now all eyes on the general manager. All eyes turn to the GM. And if you listen to Tony Baselli this week out of the Super Bowl, a couple of interviews that he did, he said the virtual interviews will really start heating up for the GM starting early next week. And one would think maybe a week from tonight, we should have a lot more clarity on who the general manager will be for the Jacksonville Jaguars moving forward. Quickly, before we get to the Super Bowl, last night, the NFL honors, I had an idea that Fred Taylor was not going to get in. It obviously came to fruition. He did not get in. But when Eli Manning doesn't get in, they need to take a good, hard look in the mirror. They being the NFL, the way they vote on the Hall of Fame, that is preposterous. Say what you will about Eli Manning. The last time I checked Denmark, there have been 58 Super Bowls, right? 59 will take place on Sunday. So 58 Super Bowls in the history of the planet. So there have been 58 MVPs of Super Bowls. Eli Manning's got 2 of those, okay? He's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 Lombardi trophies, and by the way, he beat Tom Brady both times to win those Super Bowls. And you're going to tell me he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's ridiculous. And the thing about it is, everybody basically knows it's ridiculous. They need to, again, there have been a lot of criticism about this today, and good. It's warranted. Process sucks. It's ridiculous. It's dated. It's awful. They need to update what they're doing, because how you have Eli Manning not in on the first ballot compared to some of the guys that got in is ridiculous. And by the way, I have nothing personally against Sterling Sharp. I have nothing personally against Eric Allen. Don't know either guy. In fact, I think I've talked to Sterling Sharp a couple of times in interviews. Was a decent enough dude. This is not necessarily anti-Sterling Sharp or Eric Allen. They are not Hall of Famers above Eli Manning. And guess what? They're not Hall of Famers above Fred Taylor either. And for them to get in over Eli Manning and over Fred Taylor is, again, there's that word, ridiculous. It's a joke is what it is. It's turned into kind of a joke. It's turned into just people rolling their eyes at the Pro Football Hall of Fame committee. So the NFL needs to take a good, hard look at that, because Eli Manning not getting in last night was bad. Bad, bad, bad. As for the game, we'll certainly talk a lot about it tonight. Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, will join us coming up in about an hour from now out in New Orleans. Look, here's my thought, and it's been my thought all week. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are probably the better football team. I think if you lined up the 106 guys, 53 Eagles, 53 Chiefs in front of me right now, and I needed to pick my 10 or 15 that I want to play a football game with, that I want on my side, I would imagine of those 10, probably 6 or 7 of them would be Eagle players. I think they're the better team. But at the end of the day, they do not have Andy Reid and they do not have Patrick Mahomes. And that's what I'm going with. It's not a scientific breakdown. I'm not X's and O's in it for you. It's very, very unscientific. One team has the best quarterback on planet Earth, and the other team does not. One team has maybe the best head coach that's ever lived, and the other does not. And from that standpoint and that standpoint alone, I'm going to take Kansas City. My one caveat is Philadelphia is the sort of team, physical at the line of scrimmage, particularly with their D-line, that could cause Kansas City some problems. Teams like that have beat the Chiefs in the past. But I don't think it's going to happen on Sunday. I think Kansas City makes history as the first team in the history of the NFL to go back to back to back. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid get their fourth Super Bowl together. Give me the Chiefs over the Eagles Sunday to hoist the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Also this weekend, Florida and Auburn tomorrow in college basketball. The number 6 ranked Gators, the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. I saw where the cheapest ticket to get into the arena tomorrow is standing room only for like $310. Needless to say, they are fired up on the Plains. Look, I don't think Florida's going to win the game. I mean, they're on the road against the number 1 team in the land. What I do hope is they put forth a much better showing than that slop against Tennessee last week in Knoxville. That sucked. At least entertain us if you're going to go up there and lose. Last Saturday was not entertaining. I think Florida circles the wagons. I think they play better than they did last week, but that's relative because they were awful last Saturday. But it's just hard to pick against Auburn, particularly on their home floor. Give me Auburn to knock off the Gators, but you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL tomorrow afternoon beginning at 4 o'clock. We got a ton to do. We are with you until 10 o'clock tonight. Shane Hallam, Draft Sharks. We'll do a little NFL draft talk. It's a scouting combine now less than 3 weeks away. Like I said, we will go to New Orleans, talk with Saren Petro of Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City about Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs. But coming up next, of course, we're going to begin with the Jacksonville Jaguars. What a 2 weeks it has been. Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, all the moves that have been made. Let's talk about it with my buddy Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. He joins me next on a Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, taking you into the weekend right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Some of life's proudest moments came out of struggle.
We did it.
When you realize you met the challenge. 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program I've ever been a part of. You know, with the big game coming up on Sunday, I thought back to where I was a year ago, watching Kansas City and San Francisco. 1 year. Last year, getting ready for the big game. You know, talk about big. I was big. I was 320 pounds, man. 320 last year for the big game. Now, a year later, I'm 115 plus pounds lighter. And it's all thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. I look at photos of myself at the party we had last year. Ugh. We're going to take those same photos this year. It's going to look drastically different. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, take it from me, a guy that lost over 100 pounds on this program. Go to awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com. Guys, if I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Join us live next Wednesday, February 12th, noon to 2 at the new showroom of Renewal by Anderson off Beach in San Pablo. The Buddy Bus will be there along with food from Firehouse Subs. That's Wednesday, February 12th.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's the matter?
I don't know about this air conditioner, Jason.
You know, my job is actually to...
I mean, 1 minute it's working and the next minute it's not working. And every time I leave the house, I don't know if I'm coming back to a nice, cool oasis or a steaming cesspool of sweaty garbage fumes and dog farts, and then I'll never get to sleep. And I'll be too late to call someone. And what if I've got a big meeting the next morning and I haven't slept a wink?
Okay, dude, stay cool. Or at least stay cooler.
But
Bueller Air and Plumbing can figure out why your AC only works sometimes and not all the time. We fix that kind of stuff every day.
You mean you can...
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all your time worrying about an air conditioner that can totally be fixed, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Dan and Jeff take you down the fairway with the PGA Tour professionals.
Keep an eye on this one.
Crunch with the Tour.
Tour news, tips, and inside info. Brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation. 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web. Precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At sportsforecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. Sportsforecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
It's your go-to for golf talk. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
All we need to do is develop the rest of your game. Then you'll be unstoppable, son.
Get local updates, gear reviews, and all things golf talk. Saturday mornings at 10 on 1010XL.
It all begins with Speed Weeks, presented by Advent Health, February 12th through 16th. The Daytona 500 is sold out, but you can still win a 4-pack of tickets to all the other Speed Weeks races. What driver won the 2024 Daytona 500? Text the driver's last name to 641-1010. What driver won the 2024 Daytona 500? For a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to the Speed Weeks races, text the driver's last name to 641-1010.
Matt A's here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
City Rescue Mission has been providing food, clothing, and love for over 70 years to the homeless in Jacksonville. If someone you know is struggling, City Rescue Mission is here to help. Learn more about the City Rescue Mission at crmjax.org.
If you know someone with cancer and no insurance, call the U.S. Uninsured Helpline at 800-234-1317.
The Creeks Athletic Association in St. Johns County offers a variety of sports for children 5 to 18. Learn how to get your child involved at caale.org.
Builders Care is looking for volunteers, and there are so many ways you can help. Find out how at builderscare.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
This is head coach Matthew Driscoll from the UNF men's basketball team. When our players suffer an orthopedic injury, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists gets our players back on the court pain-free.
We appreciate the endorsements from our high school and college coaches. This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. The next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, what a crazy couple of weeks it's been here in Jacksonville, from Liam Cohen being hired as the brand new Jaguar head football coach. Tony Baselli is now the EVP of football operations for the Jaguars. The general manager search is underway, with about 7 or 8 names already being out there that the Jaguars have requested to interview. There's a lot to get into, and with that, let me welcome in my buddy Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Travis, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great, and you're kind enough to have me. It's a good day in Jacksonville.
Hey, Travis, we always appreciate it. I talked to you a couple of weeks ago before all the craziness ensued. Let's just kind of start in reverse order. Liam Cohen, the brand new head coach of the Jaguars, now for a couple of weeks. What's your reaction to that hire?
reaction to the hire is exactly as it was beforehand. We talked about this before he was hired. I kind of told you then that I had Ben Johnson and Liam as 1A, 1B. I'm ecstatic for Liam to be the head coach, no matter the process that got us there. I'm happy with the outcome, nevertheless. So Shad got his guy, quote unquote.
And, you look at the staff that Cohen's putting together. We'll begin with the defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile, and I've been working on that. I want to call him Coach Camp, although I'm not sure how Dave Campo would feel about that. Your thoughts on the defensive coordinator and the staff they're starting to put together on the defensive side of the ball?
It's going to be, in the words of the great Mio O'Brien, it's going to be a room full of the guys with the juice. It's going to be a lot of guys who are very energetic, a younger group of energetic teachers, we'll call them. And that can be good, but I do have, some concerns as far as where it's going to land. A lot of first-year guys, basically. And because of that, I'm kind of like, all right, I see what they're going for here, because it's not so different than, either the Minnesota Vikings or the Rams even, just kind of the blueprint for all of this. But those other organizations did at least, have that one main guy, that, that defensive coordinator, and whether it's Brian Flores or even, Wade Phillips, in the first years, where they kind of got their feet wet and kind of figured that out. So I'm kind of curious. I'm cautiously wading in this water, how this is going to work, because you can have 5 out of 6 of these guys do great at their job and just have one guy who fails, and that can make the whole thing kind of come off the rails. So I'm just kind of curious how this is going to work out, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt as they kind of just work through this thing in the early parts of the season, because I kind of have to assume someone's going to struggle early. I just don't know who that someone's going to be.
Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And to that point, you got a lot of guys in their mid to late 30s getting hired here, or their early 40s. What's your overall thought on what they're doing with the hiring process? Like you said, there is a lot of youth here right now.
Well, it's not just on the coaching staff. I mean, I don't look at it necessarily as age. I'm just looking at it as the overall experience also. Whether you're talking from the front office perspective, again, you have a first-time head coach. You have a first-time defensive coordinator as far as in the NFL. Multiple position coaches who are also being, promoted either from an assistant role to having to own it themselves. Same thing with your, EVP option with Tony Baselli. That's no knock to Baselli. I believe and I hope he will do great in the job, but nevertheless, he doesn't have a history of personnel decisions as far as that piece is concerned, and scouting and all of that. So from top to bottom, we are looking at the front office structure as a lot of guys with first year experience doing this for the first time. That does lead to some concern. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist. We've tried the retread route to some historic failures here in Jacksonville, so I'm not going to go too far over that line and say I'm super concerned, but I have questions, and they will be answered in the early parts of the season and the offseason, so I guess we'll see.
You wrote a piece on Big Cat Country about the general manager position and the search that's ongoing. I want to get to that in a moment, but quickly, another thought on Tony Baselli. Baselli didn't need this job, Travis. He obviously could do a million things with his business or, other NFL aspects. I mean, Tony Baselli did not have to do this. Tony Baselli wanted to do this. Tony Baselli is like Mr. Jaguar, right? And from that standpoint, the Jaguar organization hasn't had a guy like that since at least Coughlin. And that's going back, 7-8 years. I love the fact that Tony Baselli is now going to be more involved in the day-to-day operation of this football team, this organization. What's your thought there?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. I raved about it, slamming the table for it, clapping when they even just had the conversation of having Tony in the room. So I'm happy that Shad has someone who is a certified ball knower as far as Tony Baselli, and I will categorize him as absolutely that. So the fact that you have someone who knows the game, who has those contacts in and out, who can make those phone calls and kind of find out what the landscape around the rest of the league is, like he's shown his ability, he's shown his strength in even doing that in this process to get Liam Cohen back to the table and get that hiring done. So I'm here for all of that. absolutely ecstatic about the potential of what that could be. But again, I just have the questions of how it's going to work as far as the structure is concerned. Having, an EVP, having the head coach, and having the general manager, whoever that may be, kind of come to the table together separately. It seems to work, again, with the Detroit Lions. It seems to work with the Baltimore Ravens. There are a few successful examples of that working, but it also depends on the individual guys. So, to your point, Tony wants to do it. Tony cares about the city. He cares about the organization. So hopefully it will work out. But again, that's to be seen.
But you on Big Cat Country have recently wrote an article about the GM candidates, and I thought you outlined some really good pros to some of the candidates. And there's a lot of them, right? We know Greenberg in Tampa took his name off the list, I guess. I still have questions as to whether he took his name off the list or if he figured he wasn't getting it, so that's why he took his name off the list. But nevertheless, what do you make of the list of GM candidates the Jaguars are looking at?
Well, it's an interesting list, very similar to the offensive coordinator situation, very similar to the position coach situation, as far as a lot of younger guys, a lot of younger options. And not necessarily saying that they're all inexperienced necessarily, but a lot of younger assistant general managers, senior personnel executive. You got Trey Brown in Cincinnati Bengals. The oldest person on that list is Ethan Raw. And I believe he's 49, 50. Everyone else, you're talking in that 30, in the 30 to 50 range, which is kind of crazy. When I saw this, I'm like, these guys are younger than me. I'm feeling mad old right now. But no, it's pretty awesome that some of these guys have the acclaim that they have had the roles and the positions that they've had. Multiple guys have won Super Bowl championships. There's a lot of links to, whether it be the Philadelphia Eagles or the Baltimore Ravens through multiple of these guys. So it's a great list with a lot of guys who are willing to think outside of the box, a lot of guys who might even be more interested in kind of joining this new age NFL, being a little bit more aggressive as far as how they move and how they structure their rosters.
Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Travis, explain this to me. You write for the biggest fan website that covers the Jacksonville Jaguars, so you have a pretty good idea what the fans are thinking. I want to talk about Ian Cunningham in a moment. But as of late, it seems like the flavor of the day is a cat named James Gladstone. Now, I got to be honest with you. I had absolutely no idea who James Gladstone was until basically 24 to 48 hours ago, and I'm being dead honest. And then, look, I don't know the nuances of James Gladstone, okay? Maybe you do, but what I do know is this. When I found out he was the director of scouting for the Los Angeles Rams, that in and of itself piqued my interest because of how unbelievably awesome their last 3 or 4 drafts have been. Why do you think the fan base is kind of flocked to Gladstone right now?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, and I'm going to just keep it a buck. Fans will always flock to whatever new, the new hotness, as I like to call it. Whatever's the new thing. If you have a clip of that person being able to articulately express what their plan is, and they sound smart, and they sound like they know what they're doing, just competence. And I'm not saying that as a small thing, because I think in the NFL these days, competence is lacking in a lot of these guys who make millions of dollars. Like, just competence might make you an above average to even a great NFL team. And Gladstone has that in spades. Like, he's a smart guy. He's in the Rams. They released some behind the scenes footage as far as the draft, the 2025 draft, how that kind of worked out, the trades that they were going to make to get Brandon to solidify Brandon Fisk. And I believe there was another one that they kind of picked up in the draft. It was awesome TV watching. So for any of you who haven't seen those clips, I actually put it as far within the Big Cat Country article. Take a look at that. But the gist of it being is the guy's super smart. He has his process kind of laid out. They kind of show you what it is. He's also one of the guys who's credited with the Rams area scout Vito Ganella as identifying Puka Nacua as their 5th year, like, kind of must-have guy on the team, and they got him in the 5th round. So it's kind of like he has the juice. He has the cachet. He has the resume. The only question is how short is too short. And it's the same conversation we had with Liam Cohen. If you like Liam Cohen, you're probably going to like James Gladstone, because James Gladstone has, an 8-year career as far as in the NFL. He was a former high school offensive coordinator before that. And they just found this guy who was just smart and just understood the game and brought them into the Rams organization, and he worked his way up very quickly. But again, he's kind of that guy. If you like Liam, you're probably going to like James, because they're kind of that same ilk and the same kind of aggressive, smart guy who just gets it, if that makes sense.
And the one thing to remember is that Liam Cohen probably has some sort of relationship with Gladstone from their time together with the Los Angeles Rams, which I think is important to keep in mind. But as we begin to wrap up, Travis, Ian Cunningham, the assistant GM in Chicago, still appears to be on the radar for almost every Jaguar fan probably listening tonight. Again, in the interest of transparency, do I know a lot about Ian Cunningham's career? No, but I know that he's interviewed a lot of places. He's considered to be one of the hot up-and-coming assistant general managers. What is the thought about Ian Cunningham, and where do you think he stands in this GM search?
He's been my favorite for a long time, and he was my favorite even before I was talking about Ian Cunningham back in October. I was talking about James Gladstone. You're probably talking in December. Like, as I kept going through the process and finding details on these guys and what everyone's saying about these guys, Ian was always at the top of that list. So for me, I'm happy with, honestly, either of those guys. They have their own pros and cons, but I like Cunningham. He had his time, 17-year career. He had his time under Ozzie Newsome up in Baltimore. He's had time under Howie Roseman in Philadelphia, multiple Super Bowl championships as an executive, and he's obviously the assistant GM up in Chicago under Ryan Poles currently. Everyone's always asking, like, well, why do you care about this guy? He's in Chicago. It's because he spent all that time in Baltimore and all that time in Philadelphia and had some great success there. That matters significantly. So he's kind of put together that kind of career. Everyone you talk to kind of lets you know he's going to be the guy. It's just a question of what the fit's going to be. He obviously took himself out of the, the Arizona Cardinals GM opening back in 2023. He's been the top guy in multiple interviewing cycles. It's just going to be the conversation of when is that fit going to work for him. And he's going to be interviewing the Jacksonville Jaguars, just like the Jaguars will be interviewing him.
Travis, final question. There are a lot of GMs that they're looking at, potential GMs that they're looking at. Cunningham and Gladstone appear to be the two the fans want most. Is that how you think it lands? Do you think Cunningham or Gladstone is the favorite to be the next GM of the Jaguars?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Because that might be my personal bias. Because I can honestly see an argument for Brandon Brown, the Giants assistant GM, because again, he has a very good resume also. If you're just talking about guys who get it, guys who are able to put this thing together, and they're around that same they have that same general profile as Cunningham, but more experienced than Gladstone. Like, there are some guys in this group that absolutely have a chance to kind of pull this thing away in that interviewing room. So I don't want to just assume that it's going to be Gladstone, because as we've already established, how many years you have in the game does matter. How much, how long you put into this game and built those relationships to make those trades or to bring those players in and bring those executives and coaches in. That does matter as far as being a general manager. So I don't want to just discount that as far as the Gladstone example. But again, you have other guys who've had a little bit more time under their belt, like Brandon Brown, 14 years in the league. That, again, might matter. So I think he might have a chance, and the same thing could be argued for the Chargers assistant general manager, Chad Alexander. So I don't know where they're going to land on that, but I would wish to be a fly on the wall in those interviews, because if one of those guys blows them away, especially them not being stagnated with the I have to have an older guy or I have to have a younger guy with certain experience, I think one of these guys could blow it away, and I think they might be open to it.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Whoever comes here to join Liam Cohen and Tony Baselli now with the new foundation the Jaguars organization is building. Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Travis, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Sounds good. Thank you, bro.
There you go, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. The Jaguars filling out their coaching staff today. 19 hires. I saw our buddy Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union tweeted this out earlier. The average age, if you combine all the coaches that the Jaguars released today, which I believe was roughly 19 people that were hired, is just over 42 years old, 42.24. That's actually older than Sean McVay's initial staff in Los Angeles in 2017. McVay's initial staff, which also included 69-year-old Wade Phillips, averaged 41.47. So, and again, appreciate Demetrius doing the math on that for us and wanted to give him credit. The Jaguars have a very, very young staff, but not the youngest, as McVay's staff in L.A. was a little bit younger just 8 years ago. We'll talk more about the Jaguars. Obviously, now that the coaching staff's in place, you begin turning your attention to free agency, certainly, the GM search, but the draft, right? We're 2.5 months away from the draft. We're less than 3 weeks away from the scouting combine. Heck, the Senior Bowl is already over. Let's talk a little draft with my buddy Shane Hallam. He has covered the draft for years. He's fresh back from Mobile and the Senior Bowl. He's with Draft Sharks, and he joins us next on a Friday night, heading into the weekend here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
1010XL's Dan Hicken dominated Folio Weekly's Best of 2024. Best TV sports anchor, Dan Hicken. Best radio sports anchor, Dan Hicken. Best radio sports show starring Dan Hicken. 1010XL, the home of Dan Hicken.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
Standing 5'9" and weighing about 190 pounds, who would have thought that this kid from Louisiana would have had such an impact on the NFL? But his impact off the field is what makes work done incredible. The former Florida State running backs Home for the Holidays program provides housing for struggling families and time for Christmas. He has provided and furnished over 150 houses and counting. I'm ET, and this Black History Month profile on 1010XL is brought to you by Instant Keys. Fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
Is your dog Team Rough or Team Fluff? It's officially Puppy Bowl season at Dogtopia Jacksonville, Beach Boulevard. They're getting MVPs, most valuable pups, ready for the big game. Your dog deserves a tail-wagging day of fun, and Dogtopia's indoor playrooms are the perfect training ground for their game day moment. Get your dog in on all the action by visiting Dogtopia Jacksonville, Beach Boulevard, and St. John's Bluff. New to the pack? Enjoy a free day of daycare. Mention Puppy Bowl when booking to claim the offer.
Some people say the best thing about the big game is the story.
It's what you dream of.
Stories about the stars.
I remember being in the backyard.
Stories only they can tell.
That's what I wanted to do.
Big game coverage on 1010XL is viewed through Window World of Northeast Florida.
Yo, ET here, and don't let Valentine's Day sneak up on you. Plan the perfect romantic getaway in Clay County. Stay at one of Clay's beautiful Airbnbs or in luxury at Club Continental, a boutique riverfront retreat, and treat your special someone to an unforgettable dinner at the Hilltop Restaurant. Trust me on this one. Clay County is the perfect spot for romance. Start planning today at exploreclay.com and tag those romantic moments with hashtag ExploreClay.
Visit Monahan Jewelers now through Valentine's Day for savings on all GIA certified diamonds and discounts store-wide up to 40% off and interest-free financing on all purchases. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. Monahan's has it all. We're not a chain store. We're your local family jeweler since 1977 with a world-class inventory of fine jewelry and diamonds and gemstones available in any size. Support your local family jeweler now through Valentine's with huge savings in our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a beautiful walk-in closet that's already so incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
And take advantage of extended savings this month. Get 40% off and another 15% off with 18-month special financing.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Denny Thompson here. This is the last week to enter for a chance to win a $2,500 prize over at the new Tyson Sound and Security showroom. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a soundbar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box to enter for your chance to win. Giveaway ends Sunday, so go now to Tyson Sound and Security, 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Senior Bowl in the rearview mirror, the East-West All-Star Game in the rearview mirror. Look, we've been so caught up on the Jaguars and their head coaching search that you look on that calendar, the NFL Scouting Combine is 3 weeks away, which is absolutely wild. Let's begin looking at this draft class, and what will be a very important draft for Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars. My buddy Shane Hallam has covered the draft for years. He's with Draft Sharks, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Shane, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back. Happy to be back in draft season for sure. So excited to catch up with you and talk about all the happenings here. It's been a busy week.
It's that time of year for Shane Hallam, no question about that. All right. The last time you and I talked, the Jaguars were full of optimism and hope heading into the 2024 season, and that optimism and hope got crushed and destroyed in front of our very eyes. Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke gone. Liam Cohen is in. Tony Baselli announced as the EVP of football operations. It is truly a changing of the guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I want to talk about their draft prospects in a moment. But Shane, a mile-high point of view, the class as a whole, strong, weak, positions of weakness, positions of strength. How would you assess the 2025 draft class?
I think it's solid. You know, I think we're still in that period with less underclassmen coming out. It's maybe not quite as deep on day 3 as classes from 4 or 5 years ago, which is fine. I think you're going to hear maybe that it's a down draft class just because the quarterback class is not as good as we saw last season. But a lot of the defensive edge class is great again. The running back group is exceptional, one of the best overall that I've seen in a while. I think you have a really strong, corner, defensive line, linebacker, offensive line's pretty strong. So I think it's a pretty good class for those top 100, top 150 picks for Jacksonville this year, especially. I think they're in a good position maybe to use that draft capital wisely with where the value is and the needs are.
Yeah, I believe the Jaguars have 6 picks in the top 125. Look, say what you will about Trent Baalke, but he traded back last year, got Brian Thomas Jr. and a third and a fourth from the Minnesota Vikings. That appears to be a pretty good deal now on the surface. The Jaguars are picking number 5. Shane, I want to talk about them in a moment, but obviously here in Jacksonville, we want quarterbacks to go in the top 4. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, in a perfect world, both of them. What is your thought there? 1, 2, 0? How many quarterbacks realistically could go before Jacksonville picks at 5?
I think it's realistic that 2 go. I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are on the level of those top quarterbacks from last season. I would grade both of them. I think Cam Ward's about where I graded Bo Nix last season. I think Shedeur Sanders is a step below that. But teams need quarterbacks. The New York Giants need a quarterback. The Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, they need a quarterback. So I think it's very likely that we see 2 go off the board. I think teams are going to have very different boards about which quarterbacks they like, which ones they don't like. So I think if you're Jacksonville, you feel comfortable with 2. After the Senior Bowl, we've been getting some buzz on Mississippi's Jackson Dart as a potential first-round pick. He's someone that could continue to gain momentum. So it isn't out of the question even that maybe there's the Patriots trade down from 4 and you see 3 quarterbacks go. And I think there's also, maybe a slim chance, but a chance that none. That these teams don't grade any of the quarterbacks as worth a top pick. That can certainly happen, like we saw back in that Kenny Pickett year. I don't think this is quite that dire. So I would guess 2. I guess we see Ward and Sanders ultimately.
Shane Hallam, Draft Sharks, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, the 2 quarterbacks, I agree with you. I think both are likely to go. Certainly, I think 1 will go. And then I guess Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the other 2 that probably won't make it to Jacksonville at number 5. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think that the top 4, if we say 2 quarterbacks are going, that top 4 seems pretty good. I think Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the 2 best players in this draft overall. But with that being the case, I think they'll both be gone almost no matter what. So I think if you want to cross those 4 names off and then Jacksonville's draft gets the start there at number 5 with those 4 off the board most likely.
And the 2 Michigan guys are the ones that are being mocked to Jacksonville the most here early on. That's Mason Graham, the defensive lineman. Will Johnson, but I guess not so much recently. I know there's still some injury concerns about him, the corner from Michigan. What is your thought on both guys?
Well, I think that Mason Graham is worth the selection there. I mean, I think he's a difference maker from that defensive line position. He's one of those 2-way players that is, very stout against the run, is going to command kind of a double team. He can 2-gap, but also has that push and that leverage to get a pass rush from the middle. So I think he's just an insane athlete that gives you that interior pressure. So if you like, if you don't mind taking a defensive lineman that high, I think he's worth that pick. I don't think Will Johnson's going to be the pick at 5. I've heard the medical is still kind of a little bit questionable. They might not be ready to start training camp. And, he's a really good player. I don't know if he's a top 5 player, especially how he played this season. So his play fell off a little bit this year. And ultimately, he might not even be the first corner off the board when all said and done.
Shane Hallam, Draft Sharks, here with us on 1010XL. Shane, a couple of guys that I've talked to, McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona. Some guys really like him. Some guys, quite frankly, have used the term overrated with him. What is your thought on him?
He's my top receiver in the draft. I think he's the best receiver in the draft. I don't think he is a top 10, lock pick in a typical draft. Doesn't mean he's not going to go in the top 10, right? Every draft is different. And I think this draft, when you get to that 6 through 10 mark, there's a lot that can happen. But Ted McMillan, he's big, he's lanky, he's long, he has good athleticism. I don't know if he's not a dominant Jamar Chase type of receiver that's just getting open and making plays all the time. There's a lot of contested catches where he's not getting separation. You like what he can do there, but that's not what I want from a top 10 pick. So to me, I think Ted McMillan's slightly overrated. I'd be a lot more comfortable with him in that 15 to 20 range. But receivers are a big time need for a lot of teams, a really important position that might push him up. But he's not someone I would take, in that 5 to 10 range.
I know you've been doing mock drafts forever, probably, on the 2025 draft, and you'll continue doing those. Jacksonville is kind of a question right now because Liam Cohen just arrived here. We still don't know the entirety of the coaching staff nor the general manager, so there are certainly a lot of question marks hanging over the heads of people like you that are trying to predict what Jacksonville's going to do. But based on what we know now, what is your thought on the Jaguars at 5 and maybe other positions of need heading into at least free agency?
Yeah, I think Mason Graham's kind of the easy slot in that spot right now at this point where you have, kind of a need matching what the value is. I don't have a corner that I think is worth that pick at 5 unless Travis Hunter falls to 5. I think the offensive line needs are more in the interior. It's not something you're picking up there. And I don't think Ted McMillan is worth that pick. So it kind of makes sense to me to go defensive line, to go in that front. I think Mason Graham's the guy. If Liam Cohen wants to kind of shake up the offensive line, you could look. We've seen a couple teams in recent history in the top 10, pick an offensive tackle, even when it's like, is that really what you need right now? We saw with the Chargers last year. Because I think you have guys like Will Campbell from LSU and Kelvin Banks from Texas, Josh Simmons from Ohio State, who are well worth that number 5 overall pick. So I wouldn't discount that possibility of Liam Cohen saying, hey, I want a really good offensive line. Let's draft the best player on our board. It's a left tackle, and let's go from there is a possibility.
Is this a good year? I guess it's kind of a rhetorical question. It's never a bad year. But as far as a depth issue in the draft, is it a good year to have 10 picks, 6 in the top 125? I think last year I was talking to some folks that said, maybe a 4th-round pick in 2024 might be a 6th-round pick in 2025. The thought was last year that this year's class might be a little deeper. Is that the way you see it?
I don't think it worked out that way. I think a lot of players went back to school. And what we're seeing with the NIL money coming in, that a lot of players are kind of heading back to college for more than we expected. We're still not back to that triple-digit mark for underclassmen declaring. I think this one ended up in the 60s once we got the Ohio State and Notre Dame guys. So I don't think it worked out that way. I think it's a good year to have those picks in the top 125. I think that's where the strength is, but I don't think the depth of this class is as advertised from last year. I don't think a 6th-round pick this year is worth a 4th-round pick last year. I don't see that happening. Certain positions potentially, but I think it's a good year for the Jaguars, for Trent Baalke to have gotten those high picks and at least left you with that before you got fired.
Shane, final question. I haven't really talked to you since Brian Thomas Jr. did what he did in his rookie season. Now, you and I talked a lot about him before the season. Your thoughts on what the Jaguars apparently have now with BTJ?
I think you have one of the best 10 receivers in the NFL. I didn't expect that. You and I talked, like Brian Thomas, I had him rated as a 1st-round pick, but I did not expect him to be on this level of just being able to beat almost any NFL corner one-on-one. We knew he had the speed and athleticism and then the size, but a lot of watching him this season, a lot of the technical route running and the route tree that he didn't do at LSU was there. So there's one thing you could say for the old regime. It was the development of Brian Thomas, I think, was spectacular. And I think he played like one of the best 10 receivers in the NFL, and that's a really nice building block.
Shane, tell us about Draft Sharks, what people can look forward to when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, if you go over to draftsharks.com, we specialize in fantasy football. So if you play fantasy, we have rookie rankings up on the site, but I'm still doing draft work, and we'll have, mock drafts up, 7-round mock draft coming for 2025 as well. So go over to draftsharks.com, take a look.
It is Shane Hallam's time of year. There's no question about that. Shane, appreciate it, man. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
No, thanks so much. Thanks for having me around.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL. Some call him a media mogul.
I believe it to be a terrific performance by a very gifted actor.
We call him
I am bad to the core now.
Dan Hicken. Mornings on 1010XL.
Hi, everybody. Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. This Sunday's the big game. Look, don't blame me. This would be much easier if I could say this has finally come. Parties, football, libations, food, all the festivities we welcome every February. The question is, what if you're trying to lose weight but still enjoy watching this with friends? The answer? Nothing. As I've told you before, Awaken 180 is built for real-life scenarios. The reason Awaken 180 is now in their 9th year and growing nationally, the program works. Eat wings and meatballs while watching the Super Bowl. Have a beverage while betting on the Super Bowl. Live your life while enjoying the Super Bowl. I think you get the point. Whether you're in the weight loss phase or in free lifelong maintenance, Awaken 180 won't get in the way of enjoying the big game. Reserve your consultation today at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-3 for Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Mia here for MyBookie. It's finally here. A game so big we're not even supposed to say the name, where the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Philadelphia Eagles at the Caesars Superdome. This isn't just the biggest game of the year, it's the ultimate betting event. If you are not on MyBookie, you are missing out on the action. Big game betting with MyBookie goes beyond just picking the winner. We've got all the wild props for this epic showdown. Will it be heads or tails for the coin toss? What color will the Gatorade for the drenching of the winning coach be? Even the length of the national anthem are up for bets at MyBookie. They love giving you options to bet on everything. Make it easy to win and even easier to get paid with MyBookie, whether you deposit with crypto or credit. Bonuses await. And our new loyalty program gives you cash back just for playing. Bet on big game boosted parlays, live betting, and jackpots that can turn small bets into big wins. Why just watch when you can own the big game? Sign up with MyBookie now using promo code 1010XL and get your 50% sign-up bonus to kick things off. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Look, it's kind of cooling down right now. I love opening my windows up this time of year. If you're looking to upgrade your windows in your home, I want you to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Ask about their latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows and doors, rated #1 by Consumer Reports in all 3 main window categories. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. That's Pella Windows and Doors online at PellaJacks.com.
This is Hayes Carline here to help you break free from the chains of pest infestation. The talk of this town is Kingfish Pest Control. By now, many of your neighbors have already joined the Kingfish Revolution, leaving their homes and lawns protected and pest-free. Now it's your turn. Call Kingfish Pest Control and say goodbye to termites, ants, mosquitoes, and other annoying pests. Trust me, you'll get exceptional service and understand why your neighbors and I use Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
This is Mike Lynch, PGA Golf Professional. Take it from me. If you're dealing with an orthopedic issue, talk to the doctors at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where you're treated like a pro.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros. Thanks to all of you who have allowed us to be part of your recovery. Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists if you ever have a need.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hicken here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We will take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. We'll talk Florida-Auburn basketball as the number 6 ranked Gators head to take on the number 1 team in the land. Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers tomorrow, 4 o'clock. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. We'll also talk about a couple of hires that have gone on at the University of Florida on the football side of things. And, boy, there is a gigantic SEC flavor in this year's Super Bowl. Just look at the Georgia Bulldogs. Look at how represented they are on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tell you a cool side story. I don't know how many people know this. I know it because I talked to both guys during the recruiting process. Denmark, were you aware that Jawan Taylor of the Kansas City Chiefs and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson of the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously 2 former Florida Gators, were also teammates at Cocoa High School back in the day?
I did not know they played on the same team.
Yeah, they did. And that's kind of a cool story. So you got 2 high school teammates that both went to Florida together and now are both competing in the Super Bowl against one another. Kind of an interesting story for us here locally. Jawan Taylor has a chance to win his 2nd ring. My goodness. He got all that money to go out to Kansas City, and he potentially is on the verge of becoming a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
You know they're cousins.
Gardner-Johnson and Jawan Taylor?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That kind of makes sense now.
I thought you were that's what I kind of thought you were going with that. Yeah,
No.
I saw that video yesterday.
I knew they were teammates at Cocoa and obviously went to Florida together. I did not realize they were related. Well, there you go. Then it comes full circle then. More on the Super Bowl in just a moment. We will go to New Orleans coming up in about 15 minutes, a little less than that. Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in New Orleans, or in Kansas City, rather, is in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. And we will talk to Saren coming up here on Hacker After Dark. All right. Gator basketball tomorrow against Auburn. Number 6 ranked Gators, the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. We don't necessarily have clarity yet on the availability of Walter Clayton. I would tend to doubt it. I don't think they're going to win the game with Walter Clayton. So to me, give him more time to rest that ankle. Games in March are much more important than games in February. Having said that, with or without Walter Clayton, the only way Florida is going to win this game is to out-bully Auburn. This needs to be an Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, Sam Alexis, Ruben Chinaloo game, Will Richard, Elijah Martin. They need to basically bully a bully. That's how you're going to have to beat Auburn tomorrow. I think Florida is going to be competitive. I think it's a game in the second half. I don't think it's a blowout like last week was against Tennessee. But, man, it's hard to go on the road and win in this conference, and it's really hard to go on the road and beat a really good team in front of a fan base that will be rabid tomorrow. You're talking about the cheapest ticket to get into that arena tomorrow is upwards of $300 right now. The number 1 team in the land is fired up for the Florida Gators coming out to the Plains. Denmark, I think Auburn wins the game, but I do think Florida is competitive, and I think it's a game with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think Auburn wins probably by about 15. Todd Golden said earlier today Walter Clayton is going to play. He's close to 100%. Elijah Martin's questionable. And obviously Hanlocken's not going to play. So I don't know. I'd rather see Walter Clayton sit out and be healthy, but I think Auburn rolls second half. It might be close at first, but I think Auburn's just too good right now.
See, and that's why the win over Vanderbilt was so important because, again, games in March are much more vital than games in February. I'm not breaking any news there, but you don't want to lose 3, 4, or even 5 games in a row. And when Florida lost to Tennessee, knowing they had road games against ranked opponents with Auburn and Mississippi State coming up, if you would have lost that Vanderbilt game, you were staring at a 3-game or even a 4-game losing streak, and that's what you don't want. That would have been bad. So the win over Vanderbilt kind of calms the waters a little bit, even if you take it on the chops tomorrow against Auburn. And now, look, Auburn is not, the 92 Chicago Bulls, right? I mean, Oklahoma is as middle of the pack as anybody in the SEC, and Oklahoma was right there with Auburn with 10 minutes to go on Tuesday night. Tennessee went in there and should have beat Auburn a couple of weeks ago and just completely messed it up in the final 2 minutes. So Auburn is beatable, but they are very good. They are at home. Florida might be undermanned, so it's just not a good situation for the Gators. Should be a fun time, though. Again, number 1 versus number 6, 4 o'clock tomorrow, ESPN television. But, of course, you'll turn the volume down and you'll listen to my man Sean Kelly on the play-by-play for Florida basketball right here on 1010XL. Denmark, before we head out to New Orleans to talk with Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, I know you talked about this with Baloo, but for the benefit of our audience, you are going Kansas City, correct? And your logic is basically what mine is. One team has Mahomes and Andy Reid, and the other does not?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think the Eagles take the lead, and then fourth quarter, Chiefs kick a field goal late or they score whatever's needed, they'll get in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's pretty much, I know it's not good for radio, but it's that simple for me.
I talked with Baloo about this earlier. We spent all week talking about Saquon Barkley, and with good reason. The guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's absolutely unbelievable. Offensive player of the year. I think there was an argument for him to be MVP. He's the best non-quarterback player in the league right now. But haven't talked a lot about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I mean, obviously all the Philadelphia weapons over there. Wouldn't surprise me if Philadelphia tries to surprise some people and air it out a little bit early in the game, kind of loosen up that Kansas City defense a tad for Saquon. But again, one team has Mahomes, the other does not. So from that standpoint, and basically that standpoint alone, give me Kansas City. Again, more on the Super Bowl in a moment. Real quick thought. How about Eric Armstead last night? NFL honors the Walter Payton Man of the Year for the first-year Jacksonville Jaguar. Was not the year Eric Armstead wanted on the field, was not the year you, as a Jaguar fan, wanted Eric Armstead to have on the field. But there's no doubt the guy's done great things in the community, both in San Francisco and now here in Jacksonville. And he is named the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Cool moment for Armstead and kind of a cool moment for the Jaguar organization last night, Denmark.
Yeah, I seen that. I was kind of, once we kind of found out about the Hall of Fame, I kind of turned it off. And then I was kind of surprised that, because you don't get a gauge on what that award is. Like every award you kind of get a gauge on the comeback player of the year, or the offensive player of the year, the MVP, whatever. That was good to see. And I mean, that affects what we have right here in our community. He reads a lot of elementary schools and does a lot of stuff with the community. So congrats to him. And hopefully, it can result to something better on the football field next year.
Hopefully year
we'll
2
see.
will be better on the field than year 1. But again, there's no doubt the type of person Eric Armstead is. He is named the Walter Payton Man of the Year last night at the NFL Honors in New Orleans. Speaking of New Orleans, let's head out to the Big Easy. My friend Saren Petro, he's our guy in Kansas City, Sports Radio 810. Let's talk about the Chiefs dynasty. Let's talk Patrick Mahomes. Let's talk Andy Reid. Why can no one beat these guys? No one can beat them. 5 out of 6 Super Bowls, 7 straight AFC Championship games. What's it like to cover these guys every day? It's got to be amazing. Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in KC, joins me next on a Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.7 FM.
Your home for Gators hoops is 1010XL.
Number 6 and number 1. Florida fights for some chart action in Auburn. Gators Tigers, Saturday at 4 on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Love is in the air this February, but nothing kills the mood like a plumbing or HVAC problem. Whether it's a leaky pipe, a backed up septic tank, or your heater isn't keeping things cozy, don't worry. We've got you covered. Call Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Our expert team is here to keep your home running smooth, no matter the issue. When you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes. Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text CORE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CORE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CORE to 200-300. That's CORE to 200-300. CORE to 200-300.
Visit Monahan Jewelers now through Valentine's Day for savings on all GIA certified diamonds and discounts store-wide up to 40% off. And interest-free financing on all purchases. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. Monahan's has it all. We're not a chain store. We're your local family jeweler since 1977 with a world-class inventory of fine jewelry and diamonds and gemstones available in any size. Support your local family jeweler now through Valentine's with huge savings in our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
U.S. Border Patrol PBR is at 5-Star Veterans Memorial Arena February 22nd and 23rd. For your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets, text PBR to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
Denny Thompson here. This is the last week to enter for a chance to win a $2,500 prize over at the new Tyson Sound and Security showroom. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a soundbar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box to enter for your chance to win. Giveaway ends Sunday, so go now to Tyson Sound and Security, 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res, and right now the hottest price of the year. Listen, we all know we have a pretty notable football game in February just around the corner. The big game, that's what they make us call it. So if you are having people over for the big game, you're going to want to get your carpets clean. Maybe before the game, maybe after the game. Schedule now, and you'll get 3 rooms for $147, and the 4th room is free. 4th room on me. Hottest price of the year. Zero Res, man. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
Your home is your sanctuary where memories are made. Jack's homeowners trust Superior Fence and Rail to make their home feel safe, secure, and complete. Imagine a classic wood fence for privacy, sturdy aluminum to protect your pets, or a modern vinyl design that boosts curb appeal. Every fence is built with precision and pride, standing strong in every season.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
West Coast, I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Super Bowl 59 comes up this Sunday in New Orleans. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. One of them will be hosting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the night. Can Kansas City do something that no NFL team has been able to do? A three-peat, back-to-back-to-back Super Bowl championships. That's certainly one of the big storylines this week. Let's head to New Orleans. Our guy when it comes to the Chiefs is Saren Petro of Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. And Saren is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Saren, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ryan. How are you, buddy?
Saren, we're good. Thank you for joining us on a very busy week. All right, another Super Bowl. I mean, I talk to you every year around this time. It's unbelievable. I asked you this before the AFC Championship game. I'll ask you it again. Does it get old for a guy like you? I mean, this is the 5th Super Bowl you've been to covering that team in the last 6 years.
I don't think it gets old, but you do start to plan on it. I mean, when we do our pregame after the first game, we're like, okay, first of 20. We kind of count. We know they're going to the playoffs, and we jokingly just count in how many games it's going to take to get to the Super Bowl. Now, we had to work overtime last year and go 21 because they didn't get the bye week. But, there's an understanding that the key pieces, the key foundation building blocks are here, and they just need to finish off the roster each year to make sure that they can fill in for whatever it is they lost, try to get better where they were worse, and, deal with any injuries that come along the way. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say it gets old, but I would say that there is an element of expectation, and therefore I think that does take away at least a little bit of the joy. I mean, I remember in 2018 just having a quarterback was something to celebrate in Kansas City, watching Patrick Mahomes play the way he did. Then after he proved that he was an MVP caliber, there was a want to win a Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was great. But now that you've won 3, now there is really an anticipation, I think, an excitement to try to do what no one else has done and win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Saren, they're 17-2 if you include the playoffs. And one of those losses, they didn't play basically any of their starters. And you look at the roster, they've had some attrition, right? I mean, they're losing Pro Bowl caliber players, and it hasn't seemed to matter. I mean, it is unbelievable what they've accomplished so far this year.
I think that's a great point by you, and I think it's one of the things that, the storylines haven't really picked up on yet. Maybe they will, but, they lost Hollywood Brown on the first preseason game. He was out until just the last couple of games of the year. They lost Rashee Rice in the 3rd game of the year. They lost Isaiah Pacheco very early in the year. They lost Jalen Watson, their starting corner, who was the guy who was replacing L'Jarius Sneed, who was a big loss when he left in free agency to go to the Titans. They lost him along the way. Now I think, and Charles Omenihu, who was out, they lost him when he tore his knee up in the AFC Championship game last year, and he came back late. So, yes, I mean, they don't, part of the reason everyone's like, well, there's all these close games, and they just know how to win them, but is it going to catch up with them? And, look, they do know how to win them, but I still think, yes, it will eventually catch up with you if you play those types of games. But I think the underreported part of the story is what you're talking about. They were close because they weren't at full strength. Now Charles Omenihu's back on the defensive line. They've added Kareem Hunt, and Isaiah Pacheco's back for a 1-2 punch at running back. They picked up DeAndre Hopkins along the way, and Hollywood Brown came back. Xavier Worthy matured at the wide receiver position with some time off. Travis Kelce has a little bit more pep in his step. Jalen Watson returned for the first playoff game, and so now they have the 2 guys that they wanted to be at their starting corner position locked in. And so this is, look, if the Eagles win this game, take nothing from them because, other than Rashee Rice, who is not back, the Eagles will have definitely beaten the Chiefs at the very best that they have been all year and almost as good as they can be this year.
Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. He is down in New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs and the Eagles coming up this Sunday. Andy Reid, I know I asked you this last year. He won last year, and now he's got a chance to win another one. Saren, I mean, we're at the point now where Andy Reid might be the best coach in the history of the NFL, correct?
I think you can make that argument already. It certainly will be solidified if he adds a championship and does something that Bill Belichick didn't do, no other coach has done, and win 3 in a row in the Super Bowl era. I mean, I think the thing that you point to, and this is something we talked about on my show a long time ago, when people were saying Andy Reid doesn't know, he can't manage the clock, he can't win the big one. And I said, he's never had his Hall of Fame quarterback. He's had some good quarterbacks, and largely due to his coaching. I mean, if you look at his time, people are like, well, he had Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia. Well, what did Donovan McNabb do when he went to the Commanders? What did he do when he went to the Vikings? People, well, he's old and washed up. He was 33 years old. He was 3 years older than Patrick Mahomes is about to be, right? And suddenly he was washed up. Does anybody think Patrick Mahomes is going to be done in 3 years? He had a 30 touchdown and like 10 interception season, or I think it was 30 touchdown, maybe a little more than that interceptions. But he had 30 touchdown season in his final year with Andy Reid, then he fell off a cliff. That speaks to how good he is with the quarterback position, and his record with the Philadelphia Eagles, his record without a Hall of Fame quarterback crushes what Bill Belichick is without Tom Brady. Bill Belichick has barely made the playoffs without Tom Brady. His record is abysmal. And I think what was once used against Andy Reid as why he's not that great of a coach is now what you point to as a strength. Yes, with a Hall of Fame quarterback, he has proven that he can do what other coaches did, and that's win and win and win and pile up multiple championships. And the idea of him not being able to manage the clock has suddenly melted away. That's one of the biggest, I think, misnomers and something that nobody bothers to look at. The storyline, and there was some reason to say Andy Reid couldn't manage the clock because they wouldn't get it done in late game situations. And Jerry Jones, I assume, continues to fire coaches in Dallas because he thinks that the coaches can't get it done in late situations. And I'll tell you who can't get it done. Dak Prescott can't get it done. Alex Smith couldn't get it done. Donovan McNabb couldn't get it done. You put a Hall of Fame quarterback like Patrick Mahomes under the watchful eye of Andy Reid, and suddenly there's no clock management problems because Patrick Mahomes sees the small windows downfield. He's not afraid to take those chunk plays you have to take when the clock is ticking down. And so everything about what Andy Reid has done has been validated in these final years, but I think it's also validated what he did early on in his career. And I agree with you. Yes, he is absolutely in the conversation with anybody else you want to put up there for the greatest coach of all time.
Final moments, Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. He's down in New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. Saren, this was brought up last week on the broadcast. It's something I completely agree with. Look, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley were great Hall of Fame caliber NBA players. Their problem was they played in the Michael Jordan era, right? And they just could not get over the Jordan hump. You look at Josh Allen, you look at Justin Herbert, you look at all these young, great AFC quarterbacks, and they just simply play in the era of Patrick Mahomes, and they can't beat him. Josh Allen literally cannot beat Mahomes in the postseason. And Jalen Hurts has had one opportunity already, couldn't get it done a couple of years ago. If Mahomes beats him again for another Super Bowl, you got to think Hurts also enters that conversation of a quarterback that is good, if not great, but just simply cannot beat Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair comparison because I think Patrick Mahomes is that kind of ruthless competitor that Michael Jordan was. I mean, I think he finds motivation where seemingly there shouldn't be motivation. I think probably all the talk about they get all the calls is motivating Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think it's something that Chiefs fans really should welcome in Kansas City. It irritates them, but what they should understand is it gives easy motivation to Patrick Mahomes, to Travis Kelce, to guys to be motivated to go out and, when really they should be feeling like, hey, we had the best record, we're two-time defending champs, we'll throw our helmets out on the field and we'll go pick up another ring. And that's not their mindset. And that's not his mindset. It's not his mindset ever. Nobody works harder than Patrick Mahomes. First guy in the building, last guy to leave, does extra work with his trainer to make sure he's as flexible as possible, as strong as possible, in the right ways. He is always trying to be the best football player he can be, and I think that is very similar to Michael Jordan. I think, in some ways, and I didn't cover Michael Jordan, and I don't know Michael Jordan, so, forgive me if somebody does and they know more about this, but from an outsider's perspective, Michael Jordan seemed to be at times loathed by his teammates. He seemed to feel a need to humiliate his teammates, to show his teammates that he was better than them. It wasn't just good enough to beat his opponents. And that's not Patrick Mahomes. He seems to have that ruthless competition streak in him, but also seems to be able to be a true leader. I mean, everybody on that team talks about how great Patrick Mahomes is. He leads by example with his work ethic, but he also leads by words. He takes young guys under his shoulder. Hollywood Brown comes to town. He's immediately at an NBA game with Hollywood Brown trying to build chemistry. He has a throwing camp down at his house in Texas, brings everybody down there and throws in the off season. When it's not, okay in the rules of the NFL to do it at the facility, he sets up his own throwing camp down in Texas and is always looking out and trying to bring guys into the mix. So, yeah, I think, in Jordan, I wouldn't say he's better than Jordan. I'm just saying that's how he's different than Jordan. But a lot of those qualities that you see in Michael Jordan, he has. And I think a lot of people would say when it comes to being a teammate, he has even better qualities.
Saren, final question. We got about 90 seconds to go. Look, Philadelphia is very good, right? They are a good football team. Kansas City is going to have to earn this on Sunday. There is no question about that. What is your thought on the matchup?
Yeah, I think this is probably the toughest matchup of any of the Super Bowls that the Chiefs have faced, and that includes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To take nothing away from the Bucs championship in 20, the Chiefs were really banged up along that offensive line, and that was they had, I think, 3 or 4 starters that were out, another guy playing out of position, and it showed that day. The Bucs were the right team to expose the weakness that the Chiefs had on that day with their front seven. But I think this Eagles team is better. Their record says they're better. They've only lost one game in about 3 or 4 months. Their defense is number 1 in the NFL. Their offense is top 10. Their rushing attack is outstanding. I think the question is, are the Chiefs, how much better are the Chiefs than what some of their, periphery numbers say they are? I think this is the best version of the Chiefs. They're the most equipped that they've been all year to beat a team like the Eagles. And frankly, I think the Eagles would be favored if it was if the name wasn't Patrick Mahomes. If it was the exact same team and it wasn't Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the Eagles would be about a 2.5 point favorite, I think. And I think it's just because so many people have gotten to the point that it's a big game. It's the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together are 17-3 in the postseason. Why would I pick anybody else? I don't think we know necessarily why we would go with the Chiefs, other than Reid and Mahomes always seem to find a way. And so I think on paper the Eagles are a better team. But Reid and Mahomes always seem to find a way. So I think we're going to get a game that comes right down to the wire. It'll be close. I think turnovers will be giant in this one. The Chiefs had their first turnover in 9 games last week. The Eagles have forced 10 turnovers without turning it over at all in the postseason. I think that's going to be a giant piece of the equation, taking care of the football. And we know all the matchups. Chiefs have got to figure out a way to stop Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts running the ball. They've got to figure out a way to pressure Patrick Mahomes, maybe stop his legs from buying him first downs. We know all the things that will go into winning. I think at the end of the day, whoever has the ball last is probably going to be in the best position to win this game. And 17-3, why would you go against Patrick Mahomes? I'll take him until it's proven otherwise, and that the Chiefs get it done with a late field goal from Harrison Butker.
Saren Petro, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. The New Orleans Super Bowl coming up Sunday. Philadelphia and Kansas City, the winner to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Saren, enjoy yourself down there in the Big Easy. Have a hand grenade for me, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Ryan, you're the man. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Our colors are teal and black.
That is. Jags on 3, baby. 1, 2, 3.
No one covers the Jaguars like 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
When you head out for a night with friends or going to the big game, don't forget the best game plan to win the night is to designate a driver and guarantee a safe ride home. Hydrating between buds is the best play you can make. Bud Light, reminding all to drink wiser.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's the matter?
I don't know about this air conditioner, Jason.
You know, my job is actually to...
I mean, 1 minute it's working, and the next minute it's not working. And every time I leave the house, I don't know if I'm coming back to a nice, cool oasis or a steaming cesspool of sweaty garbage fumes and dog farts, and then I'll never get to sleep. And I'll be too late to call someone. And what if I've got a big meeting the next morning and I haven't slept a wink?
Okay, dude. Stay cool. Or at least stay cooler.
But
Bueller Air and Plumbing can figure out why your AC only works sometimes and not all the time. We fix that kind of stuff every day.
You mean you can...
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all your time worrying about an air conditioner that can totally be fixed, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
1010XL celebrates African Americans who positively impacted the First Coast. I'm RJ Saunders, and I'll share Black History Month stories with you throughout February. Black History Month on 1010XL is brought to you by Instant Keys and McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center.
Is your dog Team Rough or Team Fluff? It's officially Puppy Bowl season at Dogtopia Jacksonville, Beach Boulevard. They're getting MVPs, Most Valuable Pups, ready for the big game. Your dog deserves a tail-wagging day of fun, and Dogtopia's indoor playrooms are the perfect training ground for their game day moment. Get your dog in on all the action by visiting Dogtopia Jacksonville, Beach Boulevard, and St. John's Bluff. New to the pack? Enjoy a free day of daycare. Mention Puppy Bowl when booking to claim the offer.
Yo, E.T. here, and don't let Valentine's Day sneak up on you. Plan the perfect romantic getaway in Clay County. Stay at one of Clay's beautiful Airbnbs or in luxury at Club Continental, a boutique riverfront retreat, and treat your special someone to an unforgettable dinner at the Hilltop Restaurant. Trust me on this one. Clay County is the perfect spot for romance. Start planning today at exploreclay.com and tag those romantic moments with #ExploreClay.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. No matter the weather, Triumph has an unbelievable selection of rides where you can get out and just enjoy the highway.
They do. The new Rocket is out with the new color schemes, the Tiger 1200, which has been revamped. These bikes are nice, gorgeous, and ready to ride.
And if you want to take a look at the selection, they can just roll into the showroom and see a full variety.
We've got them all in stock and ready to go.
So if you log on, cyclesofjacksonville.com, search the Triumph line, and then head into the showroom. You'll be impressed. Cycles of Jacksonville.
Hicken here for Bound 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bound 9. Visit Bound 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bound 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, there's a lot going on. College basketball in full swing. The Gators took one on the chops last Saturday in Knoxville against Tennessee. How concerning should that be for Florida moving forward, particularly with another really hard road game coming up this Saturday against Auburn? Speaking of Florida, boy, a lot of love coming in for the Gators when you start looking at these way too early preseason top 25s in college football. We got some coordinators leaving college for the NFL. We got some coordinators moving into the SEC. And, oh, by the way, we have a Super Bowl coming up this Sunday. There's a lot to get into with that. Let me welcome in my friend Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News, and you get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty well. Basketball, obviously, the head of the line. National Signing Day is going to be quiet. And obviously, as you said, a lot of way too early top 25 lists that are going on, and frankly, within about a month, we're going to have a lot of teams heading into spring practice, and some of that starting this month.
Yeah, a lot of teams will start early, no question about it. You know, you and I briefly last week talked about the whole National Signing Day thing. Look, I get it. Times change, people change, but boy, it really is lacking for me. I remember February, the first Wednesday in February was such a gigantic deal for guys like you and I as recently as 5, 6, 7 years ago. And certainly going back 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was like the Super Bowl for those of us that followed recruiting. And it's completely dead now with the December signing period. Maybe sad's not the right word, but I do miss it a little bit, Brent.
Well, no doubt about it. Gosh, I remember doing double-digit radio hits during that time. It was just amazing to tell you where we are. There really is only in the top 50 from 24/7. There's one guy, Ty Haywood, who's an offensive tackle that is not either signed or at least committed.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's changed considerably, and I think where we're going with this is, well, what are we going to do with National Signing Day in February? Are they going to eventually move it back to the summer and have two of them, or maybe just end up having one in either December or February? But you're right. It is unfortunately lost a lot of magic, and there were networks devoting 3 or 4 hours minimum on National Signing Day, if not basically the whole day. And I remember our friend David Lamb always said, look, I don't understand recruiting. I don't know all the names, but these guys deserve the attention they've got on National Signing Day, so let's give it to them.
Oh, lamb chops. Yeah, I remember listening when I was younger, listening to him and to Frangie, and when I was going to and from, Mandarin Middle School and Wolfson High School. I mean, it was a gigantic deal, and with where we are now with the December early signing period, the February period has been absolutely crushed. So it is somewhat unfortunate. I want to get to Gator football in a moment because, like you said, there's a lot of preseason, way too early preseason top 25s that I want to talk to you about. But while we're on Florida, let's focus on the hardwood first. Saturday in Knoxville, Brent, was terrible, quite frankly. Florida could not make anything. They couldn't throw it in the ocean. It was 44 points, and quite frankly, they were lucky to get there. Tennessee, without two starters, just beat them up. Now, I know my buddy Mark Wise told me this, and I loved it when he told me back in the day. He said, look, 18 conference games. He says every team is going to have one game where they can't miss. they're gonna have one game where they can't make anything, and they're gonna have 16 nail biters, and that's what the SEC is gonna be this year. And if you're a Gator fan, you just hope Saturday in Knoxville, Brent, was the one game where they couldn't make anything, and hopefully that doesn't become a trend.
Well, it was, because Tennessee was really struggling, and they were basically 500 in their last few games. So this is a game I think everybody figured they would win. Now, I will say this, that they can't score much, especially since Dalton Connect is in the NBA, who was there last year. But they can D you up. It's unbelievable. I remember one sequence for Florida that they had not one but two shots blocked, basically in sequence. They shot 24% field goal percentage against Tennessee. Heck, that's lowest in Gator history.
Wow.
The lowest before that was 25.5 in 2007. So that is amazing. Think about that. They've got to get Walter Clayton healthy, don't they, Hack? With the ankle injury was difficult, but still, all in all, and in the game, Will Richard took two shots. Clayton, Martin, Richard averaging 47 points. They got a combined 18. So we could go on and on and on with that. But look, I think it was just something we see in the conference. We see teams that who are really motivated to get a win. They're able to do that. It's tough to play on the road, but as you said, even bigger games around the corner for the Gators.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Quickly, Brent, because I want to get to football, but Florida has a tough one coming up Saturday against Auburn. I'm not sure when the state of Alabama became the capital of college basketball, but between the Tigers and the Crimson Tide, holy moly, those teams are crazy good right now.
Well, the thing they both did is that they went out and got two of the best coaches in the nation, and Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates, and they play each other, by the way, the Saturday after Valentine's. So that game will be in Tuscaloosa. The rematch at Auburn will be the last game of the season. Won't be surprised if those two teams play each other possibly 3 times or maybe even 4. But they are both playing extremely well right now. There's no doubt about that. Auburn, a big win over Ole Miss. Game day should have either been at Ole Miss, Auburn, or Florida, Tennessee, instead of North Carolina and Duke. But yes, these are the two maybe best Alabama and Auburn teams that we possibly have ever seen in history, but it's way too early to say that definitively.
Terrific year for the Southeastern Conference in college hoops, no question about that. Brent, we're still 6.5 some odd months away from a college football season. But boy, a lot of these, way too early top 25 preseason polls are coming out on these various outlets, these various websites. And one thing that's really sticking out to me from a local standpoint is kind of the love that Florida's getting. Now, no one has them in the top 10, certainly, but I've seen Florida as high as 15 on a couple of these things. I've seen them in the top 20 on almost all of them. Are you surprised is the correct verbiage there, like I am, that Florida, who had no expectations this time last year going into 2024, has quite a bit of expectations going into 2025?
They do, and I think some of that's frankly justified. Now, look, if your coach comes back and your quarterback comes back, you are automatically probably, and we'll see this in all the preseason rankings, 10 spots higher than you would be if that had not happened. So, and they've added some guys, Michael Sturdivant, the wide receiver, Michael Caraway, the cornerback, Kofi Asara, the edge rusher. Those were guys they like who could give them some real help. So, I think in some ways you can certainly see a top 25 team. But again, Hack, as we know, the schedule just reverses itself and it will be brutal again. So that's going to temper some of the expectations, is it not?
It should. It's a tough schedule, but we'll see what happens. You know, we look at that Tennessee game last year. If that game's in the Swamp, it might be different. Well, Tennessee does have to come to the Swamp this year. The problem is Florida's got to go to LSU. Florida's got to go to Ole Miss. As you said, the schedule is basically reversed from what it was a year ago. Final moments with Mr. Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News, and you get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, a familiar face for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. It was not the year one that DeBoer wanted in Tuscaloosa, but he brings a friendly face now to help him try to turn that program back around.
Ryan Grubb is who we're talking about. He was the OC at Seattle in the NFL. That did not work out. He was gone after a year. So DeBoer has brought him back. They were a very successful combo, particularly at Washington, and they've been together for years at different places. This is something Alabama really needed. Sheridan, their OC last year, was basically the wide receivers coach before and had really limited experience as an offensive coordinator. Grubb is one of the best, so that will help. So the combination of Ryan Grubb as offensive coordinator and a much more accurate quarterback than Jalen Milroe will make this Alabama offense, frankly, in much better shape than it was last year.
That's one coordinator coming from the NFL back to college. Another coordinator is leaving college, going back to the NFL for a lot of money. Chip Kelly, after a national championship as an offensive coordinator with Ohio State, gets reportedly $6 million a year, making him the highest paid coordinator, I believe, in the history of the NFL, to join Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders. Brent, what's your thought there?
Well, Chip is one of these guys who has figured out who he is and what he needs to do in life, and hopefully we can all do that at some point. But he admitted when he left UCLA that he was just not a head coach, didn't deal with it. He basically just wanted to call plays, and he is good at that from what we saw at Ohio State, and certainly using talent. He was with the Eagles for a while. People may have forgotten that, but he'll work with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, and that will certainly be interesting. But that's an incredible, frankly, a lot of money. And speaking of coordinators, Jim Knowles, the Ohio State defense coordinator, goes to Penn State for half the amount of money that Chip Kelly is getting at $3 million. But that's still more than any other coordinator in college football. Heck, 20 years ago, did we ever think we would be talking about millions of dollars for coordinators?
It's a different world, and there's absolutely no question about that. All right, Brent, this is our annual NFL conversation with Mr. Brent Beard when it's Super Bowl week here on 1010XL. You follow the SEC as closely as anybody. I've talked to you about the SEC for over 2 decades. And, look, Philadelphia, I think a lot of people might pick them this week. I think they have a better roster than Kansas City. I'm not going to pick against Mahomes. I'm going to take Kansas City, even though I like Philadelphia's roster. But Philadelphia's got a lot of SEC guys that are playing huge roles for them, whether it's A.J. Brown from Ole Miss, Devonta Smith from Alabama, obviously Jalen Hurts from Alabama. You go to all the Georgia guys, from Jordan Davis to Jalen Carter, on down the line. I mean, these SEC guys are making a huge impact for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And they were really smart to draft those guys. I frankly think this game will be won and lost with more of the Georgia guys on the front seven on defense than even on offense. But Jalen Hurts, frankly, when he was in Alabama, was about as accurate as Anthony Richardson, Joe Milton, and Jalen Milroe.
Wow.
And I'm serious about that. So Hurts has really improved considerably. He has blended in with this kind of Lamar Jackson type of play where you can use his legs. But he really deserves a lot of credit. Devonta Smith is one of the greatest receivers in history on whatever level it is. He is a master at using his hands. But I'm with you. It's really hard. I like the Eagles. I kind of hope they win. But as long as Mahomes is behind center, Hack, it's just really, really hard to bet against them, isn't it?
It is. And final question, and this is the annual Patrick Mahomes question for you, and we'll probably ask you the same question this day next year because I'm sure they'll be in the Super Bowl again at this rate.
Mm-hmm.
He was good at Texas Tech, right? We didn't think he'd be the best quarterback on planet Earth. I mean, how did Mahomes do this?
That's a great question. I think he made up his mind at some point. He wanted to be the best, and timing is everything. And like Jalen Hurts' timing at Philadelphia, his timing too, the ability to be able to use his legs. They've got him some great receivers over time, but he had just developed the knack. I think the thing with a lot of these guys that we don't talk enough about is how mentally tough they are.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahomes fully believes that if he's got the ball in his hands and they've got more than a couple of seconds, that he is able to win the game. And he makes decisions, great decisions at the line of scrimmage. Now, he's not perfect, but Hank, when his skill set for this timing in NFL history, could there have been a better combination right now?
No, I'll tell you an absolutely crazy number, too, and this is my Awaken 180 video that I'm going to actually put out this week on 1010XL.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes has 17 playoff victories. If you combine, right, you got to combine Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. Those five combined have 17. And Mahomes has 17 by himself. That is insane.
Yeah. And Hank, does this head coach get the credit he deserves either?
I think he's starting to. I mean, look, if Andy Reid wins on Sunday, Brent, I think there's a legit conversation that he's the best head coach in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, you can make that with what he's done with multiple teams. And listen, I think what takes some of that away is people see him as this funny old coach in commercials, and he really has a good sense of humor. He's been able to take advantage of that. But on the field, he's an assassin as far as the head coach is concerned, and so is his quarterback. So, listen, this is obviously another Brady-type run to a degree. And the other thing is, as young as Mahomes is, do you see this stopping anytime soon?
No. And Andy Reid reportedly's already said he's coming back next year. Travis Kelce says he's got a lot of good football left in him. This thing could go for a long time. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You hear Brent Beard every week here on Hacker After Dark. You also see him weekly on First Coast News. Brent, enjoy the Super Bowl, my friend. We'll chat again next week.
Yeah, busy week with all the it's amazing how many different sports and levels we talked about today. Always enjoy it, Hank. Take care.
Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark, talking a little college athletics to wrap up the week. Look, Florida basketball tomorrow with a big one, right? The number 6 Gators travel to play number 1 Auburn, 4 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL as it's a big one for Todd Golden and Florida. I don't think many people expect Florida to win, But boy, if they were to be able to go into Auburn tomorrow, the number one team in the land, and win that basketball game, what a statement that would be. So we certainly spent a lot of time on that, but as you can imagine, we spent a lot of time on the National Football League, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course, Super Bowl 59. Look, the bottom line is this. I think Philadelphia has a better roster. I've said all week, if you do a schoolyard pick 'em and you take the top 10 players, I would imagine 6 or 7 of those 10 are probably wearing the Philadelphia green uniforms. Having said that, I'm just not going to pick against Patrick Mahomes. I thought about it all week, but no. Give me Andy Reid. Give me Patrick Mahomes. They find ways to win games like this, and I think they will become the first NFL team ever to go back-to-back-to-back, and history will be made in New Orleans on Sunday night. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs to hoist the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Friday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, my buddy Brent Beard, you see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Saren Petro of Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City for giving us the Chiefs' perspective of Super Bowl 59. Always enjoy catching up with my guy out in KC, my friend Saren Petro. Thank you to Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. As we start branching into NFL draft talk, Shane's been on with me for years, and we'll have him on every couple of weeks leading up to the NFL draft. So thank you to Shane Hallam and Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Stop by in hour number 1 to talk about, again, what was a crazy week here for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we will be back Monday night, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. We will certainly review Super Bowl 59, and who knows what's going to happen with Jaguar news over the next 72 hours. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Friday evening with us and your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, man, we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House. I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program,